Right, we're underway with the introduction to Audacity. Good evening. This is a simple intro to Audacity. First off, you need to get Audacity. And to get Audacity, there are basically one way to get it, and that you would go to audacityteam.org. At least I found that's the best place to download it from. Also, at the same location is a couple of plugins that you will also need to obtain, and that's at the audacityteam.org/download/plugins. Those additional add-ons would be to allow you to export your audio to an MP3 format. Once you've installed Audacity, you'll have an icon on your desk that looks very similar to this. And they've changed it from, it used to have the actual revision on the icon. Now they don't have the revision number on there, which I like a lot better. When you open up Audacity, you'll see an opening screen, very similar to this one shown right here. In that screen, there are multiple areas. This is a simple, quick guide to how the screen is laid out, with your menu bar at the top, then your transport bar, which is basically your audio controls, then your toolbar, that gives you all your various editing tools. Then 4 and 5 actually show you if you're recording something, the audio levels for the recording, and if you're playing something, the output level of the recording. 6 gives you the output to your headset and or input from your microphone. The 7 is the edit toolbar. And that is this one right down here that gives you cut, paste, and trimming of your audio. One thing about editing in Audacity is that you can just about back out of anything that you've done. Then in this right here, these controls, that looks like a playback button, will allow you to play your audio at either a faster speed or a slower speed. The 9 gives the device toolbar, where it shows where your microphone and your output is coming from. 10 is your playhead, that little green arrow right there. 11, that's your timeline across the top. 12 is this little small area right here, which is called the scrub ruler. If you place your cursor in that area right there and drag it back and forth, you will be able to scrub the audio as you move the cursor across it. 13, there it is right here, gives your information on the audio track that you're working on and whether to mute it or whether to solo it if there are multiple tracks showing. 14 is your actual audio track. 15 is your place where your labels can be shown. 16 is a selection bar here where you can go start and end if you want to set a specific starting and ending. And then last but not least is your status bar. What I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to do an import and play an existing audio file, select some audio to work on, do some zooming and a little bit of panning, how to add additional tracks, do a copy paste, do a split and join, deleting a section, undo, redo, and then we're going to deal with saving and opening an Audacity project file, and lastly, exporting to an MP3 or other audio file. To do that, we're going to move over here to Audacity. And again, this is the full Audacity screen. I'm going to open up a file, and you can either open up do an open and a search for a file, Or you can also have a list of recent files that you have worked on, which is very handy to be able then to just pick a song that you have been working on and have it actually selected from here. So I'm going to pick a file. When you pick a new file from there, it actually opens up a second copy of Audacity. You can also drag and drop your audio file onto this area here, this blank area of the screen, if you choose to do so from that way. Let's see if you can hear this. Yeah, so fat and jolly. Yeah. Okay. Now, as you find a portion of the audio that you're interested in listening to, you can place your cursor on the track and drag your cursor over that area, and then either using the play button or your space bar, you can play just that section of audio. If you want to scrub it, like I talked about earlier, you can place your cursor here, and you can now listen as you scrub that audio. Now, if you find a piece of audio that you are interested in getting rid of, let's just say quickly that we don't want that section of audio right there. It's very simple. You just highlight the area and you hit delete, and the portions move together. Now I'm going to Control Z and go back, and I go up here to my editing. I can also go to this control right here, and I can trim all the audio around from either side. So I have just that section of audio showing. Or I can delete just that section of audio and leave a blank area here. So that's your multiple versions of being able to edit out a piece of the song. Now, if you want to zoom in on the track and do some fine tuning, you can either click on these zoom controls here, or you can click on this magnifying glass that's called the zoom tool, or you can press F4. With the zoom tool enabled, you will see a little magnifying glass that shows up when you place the cursor over the audio track. If you left click with your mouse, you will zoom in just as far into that audio track as you wish. If you right click, you will then zoom back out, which is equivalent of the function of these two controls up here. I went a little too far back. Your home key and end key works just as if it does from if your cursor is down. Whoops, let's turn that off. Sorry. If your cursor is down here, it did not turn off. There. I forgot. You got to click another button to turn it off. You can then hit where, if your cursor is down here and you want to quickly go back to the beginning, you just hit your home key and your cursor moves back to the beginning of the song. And you can see that this is where you can also pin that pin the audio. So yeah. You can start at any point on this timeline of your song. Hey, hey, hey. Now, if you want the cursor to stop in a particular point in the song, you should not hit the stop button. You should hit the pause button. And then the stop button. Whoops, no. The pause button. Now, that cursor is set right where you were last listening to it. As you can already tell, there are many different ways to do a particular operation in Audacity. I'm going to come back here, and we're going to zoom in on just this little area right here. Okay, and if I want to do that, instead of just highlighting like that, I can go back to my zoom tool And if I zoom in on it like this, it will automatically zoom in for me. Now I go to my selection tool. And let's say there's a lot of people that says the audio is starting too late in the recording that they received from whomever they purchased it from. Let's just say you needed to get rid of this 1.3 seconds. Yeah. So then highlight that area, delete, and now you've shortened up the song. If you go to the end of the song and you want to get rid of all of the silence at the end of the song, the same thing. You highlight that area and you hit delete. Now you have shortened your song into an audio track that has no silence at either end of the song, or it fits better with the sequence that you're using. Now, I'm going to add another audio track in here by hitting Add New. And we're going to add a stereo track. Now we have 2 tracks up here. And I'm going to zoom back in. And let's say I want to cut a portion of the song right here. And I cut that. I can now move this newly minted track. Let's see. Do I have this? Oh, I can Control C and then Control V, and now I've got it down here. Now I want to be able to move that track back and forth, so I go to the pan tool. As you can see, this is the tool that allows you to time shift your song on the track. And then if I want to paste that same audio over here, again, I just do my Control V, and I've got another copy of it right there. And if I don't like any of that, it's just Control Z until I'm back to my original audio track. I can also do a file, and I can import an audio. Let's import this one. And by doing an import, it will put it on the same screen instead of opening up a second Audacity copy as I did when I just simply opened up. Oh, come on. There we are. Instead of opening up a full copy of Audacity with just that track in it, by importing the audio, I now have both of these songs in the same editing screen. Now say I want to put this song here, up here. I just simply move it up with the pan tool, and I can tack it on to the end of this song, and I can now edit it just as if it was all the same track. Next piece of information is each track has a name. That name should not have any special characters, by the way. They do tend to cause problems in other programs. But you can rename this track to something else. You can move the track up and down. If you want to move that track down, you can move it down to the bottom. You can mute a track like that and just play this track down here, for example. Let's put this back. Go back to my pan tool. Excuse me. Let's put this track back up here. Now, you'll notice that the muted track has turned gray. And if I play this, you'll only hear the bottom track. But if I unmute this, you will hear both tracks. So you can see how flexible the editing of the audio is in Audacity can be. let's see, we have done a split. Well, I know this. Cut and paste that up there. And you can split that audio just like that. And as you notice, when you do pan, that when the top track and the bottom track line up perfectly, there will be a yellow line that goes from the top of the screen to the bottom of the screen, showing that you've now lined up both of those audios. Now, if you line up these two audios, the same thing happens there. The last little quick thing that I want to show you is I want to show you a very important track, and it's called the label track. A label track allows you to insert information, either a information concerning the audio or information concerning a particular point in the sound. You can, I forget the command. I do apologize right off the bat. Oh yeah, sorry. If you hit insert with that track selected, is it Control P? No, I don't want that. Oh, it's been a while, so excuse me just a minute on inserting. I've added a new track. Okay, now I want to insert a marker at that point. Oh diddly. Oh, that's why I still had that selected. It's not going to insert anything if I'm still in the pan mode. No. Pardon me just a minute. Sorry about that. I have not done. It will be actually in the next audio that I play. It will actually tell you how to insert the generate. The effects. By the way, if you look at the list of effects that you can do, you can also go to a track, and if you want to mute out the end of a track, you simply go Tracks, Generate, and let's either Effects, excuse me, and let's do a fade out, and it will set the audio to fade out over that time period in case you want to fade out an audio. And it also has a fade in as well, where you can go to the effect, you can fade in, and bingo, you can then have the sound automatically increase in the beginning and automatically decrease at the end. I'm going to back all the way back to my original. Let's get rid of this one. Now, if you want to close a track, this little X right here will close that track. And one very important thing as you start to work with Audacity is Audacity does not save its files like you would think in a regular audio processing form. It saves it as a project file. So if you do some editing on this, let's just delete this right here. Now, I'm going to save this as a project, okay? I'll do this as save as a project. Yes, I know. Now, we're going to save this, and it saves it as a .aup. Okay? Once it has processed that, I will show you what the value of having an Audacity project file is. it takes it about 3 minutes to do this song. Let's don't do that. Let's stop this. Let's go with the short song. Let's go with much shorter. Yeah, I know. Let's delete all the way to there. Let's delete it all the way to there. Let's see if that'll cut down on the time. It did, but not that much. Let's go with a shorter song. Because it has to process the whole song. Let's open this one. It's a much shorter song. Okay, now I'm going to cut this song about in half. Now I'm going to save a file. You used to do a save a project as. Let's save that one. Oh yeah, 46 seconds. That's much better for a demonstration, because we don't want to sit here and watch the cursor go by for 3 or 4 minutes. While it is saving, I will tell you this, that once the project file has been saved, then I can give somebody this project file and they can take the original song and they can then open Audacity, and then they can open this project file, and all the edits that I have made will now appear to be applied to that particular song track. So let's close this. Let's go back and let's open that song again. And you'll notice that it did nothing to the actual song itself. But if I go open up the AUP file, which is the second one on the list here. Yeah, I know. Let's close that. No. I have too many files open. Okay. Oh, that's right. I can't have both of them open at the same time. Excuse me. Sorry. I'm a little rusty. So where is it open? Okay, see, now I open the Audacity project file, and the edit that I made and saved in that project file comes back to me. So if you share a sequence with someone and you've edited the audio for it, all you have to do is share with that person the Audacity project file, and they then will have all of the edits that you made to that song that you did in Audacity. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to play a small video that is one that I made for, oops, not that, about building an Audacity Papagayo track. It takes about 15 minutes or so. In this video, I will go over my process for creating voice tracks in Audacity and transferring them into xLights. I will begin with the basics. I'm going to use the song Baby It's Cold Outside by the Robertsons for this video. After you pick your song, it's good to first find a set of written lyrics, so as you listen to the song and perhaps don't understand a word the singer is singing, you can refer back to these written lyrics to obtain the correct word. To locate your song's lyrics, either Bing or Google your song's name plus the word lyrics. I will use Bing in this example. Here, I will click the first link that refers to the song's lyrics. As you can see, we now have a set of lyrics showing for this song. I usually copy these lyrics to a local document file for reference. Now, I will open Audacity. I will drag and drop my song that we're going to be using for this into Audacity. Once the waveform has appeared in Audacity, it's good to play the song at least part the way through. This is done by using the space bar or by clicking the play button in the upper top ribbon to listen to the song and determine how many voices are singing. Most of the time, there are one or two lead voices and a group of backup singers, which I usually group into a chorus.
I really can't stay.
Baby, it's cold outside.
I've got to go away.
It's bone chilling cold outside.
This
I won't play the whole song because I already have determined there is a male and a female voice and a small chorus now and then. For each of these voices, a label track will need to be added. This is done by clicking on the tracks, Add, New, and Label Track, and selecting a name for this track. In this case, I'm going to name this track Female. I will now create a label track for the male and the chorus voices as well. To better aid in seeing these voices in the audio waveform, click on the audio waveform and hold down the Control key. Using the mouse wheel, zoom in 2 or 3 or more times until the audio waveform is like this. Adjust the zoom level for the best details in the waveform. Be careful not to zoom in too far or the waveform will be stretched out too far. Press the home key to start the song at the beginning. Now start playing the song using the space bar, letting it play until the first voice is heard. Be ready to press the P key to pause play when the first voice word is heard. This will stop the playing at the current cursor location. Note, if you use the space bar to stop the cursor, will return to the point where you started playing the song and you will lose your place. I will demonstrate this. Okay, I have heard my first word. Now I'm going to click on the waveform where I think that word starts. I can scroll back and forth in the waveform using the Shift key plus the mouse button. I believe that first word starts right there. And as I see that it does. Press the down arrow key until the label track associated with this voice is highlighted. The cursor line will also appear in this track as well. Now type the word that is associated with this, and in this case is I. Now, if there's just one voice in the track in the song, you can also just press Ctrl plus B to insert a label marker. But when there are multiple tracks, it's easier to use the down arrow key to accurately place a marker and a word. Now, I will continue playing until the next word. I click audio track. I see my next word starts right about there. And again, I will go, really? Okay, now from this point.
Really
Can't.
stay.
Baby, it's
Okay, that stay word ends right about there. As you can see, the last word in this phrase has a very large gap now before the next word is heard.
baby, it's cold out.
I use a gap marker, and in this case, I put an E right there. This is done because in xLights Papagayo word breakdown, Papagayo will stretch the word all the way to the next phrase, which is not correct. If you need to listen to a section of audio repeatedly, you will click in the waveform where you want the playing to start, and hold down the mouse key and drag the cursor to highlight the desired playing region, just like this, for example. You want to listen to that word over and over. If you press the space bar, you see it plays just that region. If you need to expand this region without re-highlighting, you can place your cursor next to the beginning of the envelope, and when it forms a pointing finger, you can then move that to the next and do the same on the end as well. You can enlarge the envelope. To clear this region, all you have to do is click anywhere in the envelope, and the playing region will become unhighlighted again and close. I will stop here and complete the song, and then we'll move on with the video. Okay, now I have completed the song in Audacity, and a project file needs to be saved. As you can see, I have all of the words that I have marked out here. To do this, you go File, Save Project As, ignore the message, and then you type in a name, for example, All Voices. Now that the file is saved, you will now need to save one for each of the voices. You'll save the project as, first off, there will be the female voice. Female voice. And I will create one for the male voice next. And lastly, I will create one for the chorus. Once you've saved a project file for each of the voices, you will need to edit each of these project files. You can start with the current one that is still open, and in this case it will be the chorus. You need to delete all other label tracks other than the one associated with the current voice by clicking on the X beside the track name. And in this case, we're going to delete the female and the male, leaving just the chorus. Then I will save this file by either going File, Save Project, or simply typing Control S. Now I need to close Audacity, and then I need to open up the next Audacity project, which is the female voice. I will delete the male track, and I will delete the chorus, leaving just the female track, and I will now save that project. Now, next, we will open up the male voice. And we will eliminate the female and the chorus. We will save this project. And now we have completed all of the editing that we will need to do. While this voice is still open, I need to export a file that will be imported into xLights. I do this by clicking File, Export, Export Labels, and I accept the file name that is presented to me. Now I need to go back and I need to reopen the female track, and I need to repeat that process for the female. Export, Export Labels, accept the female, close the project file, and lastly, we will open the chorus file, and do the same. When this process has been completed and there's a text file for each of the voices, we're now ready to import these tracks into xLights. So I will close Audacity. Now I need to open xLights. First, I will start a new musical sequence. I need to point to where the media is. It never stays the same. We'll choose 20 frames per second. And a quick start. All right. Now, I have the base sequence built. The next thing you do is you right click on the new timing and you go import timing track. And we may have to browse to where the Audacity files are. So I will get that path and place it there. In the lower right-hand corner of the window, select the drop-down menu and select Text Files. Now the text files that we will import into xLights will appear for each one of our voices. There's female text, chorus text, and male.txt. We are going to choose the female text at this point. As you can see, it has now imported that timing track. Now we will zoom in on the timing track. I typically zoom in just as far as I can so that I can easily see the words. I am now looking for my end of word markers, the ones where I put the E as the gap markers. The reason I zoom in so far is that sometimes the gap markers may only be a couple of tick marks apart. I will delete that one. And now I will search for the next one. And I will delete that one. I will now complete deleting the rest of them in this track and come back when I have completed that. Now, right-click on the track name and select Breakdown Phrases and OK to confirm. This may take a few minutes the first time you use the breakdown phrases because xLights has to load all of its Papagayo dictionaries in order to accomplish this. Now that that breakdown has completed, and let's zoom in just a little bit so we can start to see some of the words, the next phase is to right-click on this track here and break down the words. And click OK. As you can see now, the pink letters show up, and those are the phonemes that Papagayo uses to pronounce each word. I will now connect a face to one of these tracks. This is easily done by dragging a face into this track here and making it stretch. We'll stretch it across a couple of phrases here. Then we will go over here and we will look and make sure that the timing track is set to female and it's singing tree 1 and the eyes are auto and it's checked for show outline. Now I can play this section and you can see the mouth movements that Papagayo now will make the face do.
I really can't stay.
Baby, it's cold outside.
I've got to go away.
After you complete all of your face connections and all of your timing tracks for your voices, the next thing you should do is right-click on here on the timing track and do an export timing track. We can take the default name or we can change it as we like, and now we save it, and that can be imported into anyone else's sequence, and they can then have the duplicate of this voice track in their sequence. Thanks for watching.
With toiletries for homeless folks throughout Metro Atlanta. You can volunteer over the summer at...
Sorry about that. My phone just decided to start talking. All right. I think that is the end of my presentation tonight. So if anybody has any questions, you can feel free to ask me at this time.
Also, go on Facebook.com and look for Build for Devon. That's a Facebook page I started.
Let me get my audio back up here so I can hear questions, and I'm going to bring the recording to an end. Oops.
Okay, so feel free to unmute yourself if you have any questions for Tom.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good.
In Audacity, if there's a, so you're going to do a multi-track session and you need to raise or lower the volume of either the main track or the secondary track, can you raise and lower the volume or normalize the audio to make a mix?
Yes, there is a normalize function. There certainly is. It's in that long list of functions that I showed at one point in the presentation. That's the real in-depth part. If you go into the effects, it'll allow you to amplify. It allows you to change the pitch, change the speed, change the tempo. It has an equalization function as well. In other words, that's why I made a statement on the earlier that this program is very powerful, and it has a lot of features it would take us all night to cover. But yes, the answer is it can be done.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else?
Would that be the same thing for different songs too?
What do you mean?
You got different songs or different volumes.
That's what the normalization does. If you bring each song in and you run the normalization on the track, you know what? The one thing I totally missed, other than the project, was saving the file out. And you, instead of saving a file, when you save a file in Audacity, you save it as a project file. If you want to export it out as another audio format, then you have to export it out as an MP3. Let me go back in here and show you that. I totally missed over that one. If you look up here, let's open up a file. That one. It really doesn't matter because within Audacity, it doesn't matter what format it's in. If you want to save it as an audio file, you have to export it. And as on the beginning, when I mentioned you had to add in some properties, there's a couple of add-ins that you have to add to Audacity to allow it to export an MP3 and several other formats. Let's see. You see where I'm pointing to there, where it says export? Export as an MP3. I can also export this out as a WAV, an OOG file, etc. In other words, you can bring it in, you do your editing, and then you can export that file out as a MP3 into a sequence for use in a sequence.
Can you import into xLights as a WAV file?
xLights can use WAV or MP3s.
Someone told me, and I don't know if this is fact or fiction, that WAV is a better format than MP3 because it's less compressed.
Yes, I believe that is correct. It is. It does carry a higher quality than MP3. However, unless you're an audiophile and you have an excellent transmitter, your audience is not going to know whether it's a WAV or a MP3 file after it gets processed and transmitted out over most of our relatively inexpensive transmitters.
Yes, and I fall within that category.
WAV files are much bigger as well, so
Yes,
that
they
also
are.
is a consideration too.
Understood.
That is true. Although I like to save my audio in WAV, even if I have the option when you go purchase a song to get it either an MP3 or a WAV, I would rather select it as a WAV because yes, it does take more space up, but you can always compress it into an MP3. And if you go from an MP3 into a WAV file, it does lose some quality.
So, Tom, there's a question in chat. It says, what is audio, scrubbing audio? You showed how to do it, but what is it?
It's when you're looking for, it's just like an xLights. You're scrubbing xLights, the audio in xLights, and you're looking for a particular word or phrase or point in the song where it says a dirty word and it says shit, and you want to get that out of there because hopefully this is a family friendly, and you want to quote scrub that until you hear that word, and then you can actually within Audacity kind of mute that out of there, or put a bleep or something else to get rid of any. Black Eyed Peas are bad about throwing inappropriate words even into their Christmas songs.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, the question was in chat. So,
okay.
Are there additional questions for Tom? So, Tom, I've got one. Have you ever taken a song and there's a way to put one track on top of each other, but in a way that it takes the voice out of it?
There's actually a video on that. That was it last year or year before last? There was a video done showing how to do that and how to eliminate the music, so all you heard was the voices.
Oh, okay. I was saying eliminate the voices, so all you hear is the music. So you can do either.
I think you could do either, but the way they did it was to eliminate the audio, the music around the audio of the voices, so they could tell what the voices were saying. And also you can isolate the male voice and the female voice in that same methodology.
Okay.
Now I know I have seen people out there claiming to be able to extract the voices out of the audio, but I have never done that before. I've never seen the need, really. Not with Audacity. I mean, not with xLights. Usually you kind of like to have the voices in there singing.
Right.
I saw a video a few months ago, someone extracting a beat track because they were using that as a sample in another song.
By the way, you can also add into Audacity the same Queen Mary plugins that you have for xLights. Matter of fact, if you have the Queen Mary plugins installed in into xLights, Audacity will pick that up.
Tom, have you ever installed any of the other type of plugins rather than Queen Mary? I think there's probably like 100 other types of plugins into Audacity.
No, because I am not an audiophile.
Okay.
And it's pretty much what I showed tonight is most of the editing I've ever done, and most of it's been done for use in xLights, shrinking a song or cutting out a phrase. Some people like to take a 6-minute song and cut it down to 3. You just find where the different phrases are and where they go quiet for a millisecond, and you can cut out a whole phrase. You can also use that same marker that I showed in to mark the words, to also mark out a phrase, and use those markers to delete that section of the audio out. I've got a song called Boogie Woogie Choo Choo Train, and there's a whole spray. I don't know what you call it in the song. Maybe I think it's actually a whole chorus component to it that was eliminated in the one for my sequence.
Okay, are there any final questions for Tom?
The xLights project exists because of people like you. Help continue the project by making a donation today at xlights.org/donate.